Listen, I'm gonna tell the long story short, and then I'll let you take over. But I'm on record for saying way back, and I think this fight was first announced in I don't know, was it first announced in November or December? I said that fight's never gonna happen, and just really to be honest with you, I'm just very confident in what I feel I know as a competitor to the sport, and now more so as just someone who's just trying to deliver the best commentary of this sport. And when it was announced that the fight was called off, I'm like, told you. And then, of course, hearing that he had a cut eye, I'm like, oh, okay, well, nobody could have predicted that. However, there is a lot of backstory and a lot of history as it pertains to Tyson Fury and things that may happen before a big fight of his. And so I in the midst of everything going on and that news breaking and stuff like that, I saw a clip of yours. And having the friendship that I've had with you for some time now, I said, you know what? If there's anybody who could substantiate things the way that they need to for the PorterWay Podcast, it's Gareth Davies. And so, take over, sir.
Well, first of all, given your ability to look into the crystal ball, I'd like to know who wins the Super Bowl by the end of this conversation.
That works.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
And also who's going to win the Derby next. Because then I can have 4 pianos in my house. In all seriousness, on Friday afternoon, having done my duties ready for the weekend, and I've actually been off for a couple of weeks. I was about to head to Saudi Arabia, potentially for a month, with Fury and Usyk, the PFL Bellator event. I've got an event I'm presenting in Dubai. We've got Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou on March the 8th. I was just getting ready. I've got a lot going on. I was having a siesta, as one does at my age, Friday afternoon for an hour, and suddenly my phone blew up. So I spent the first, I want to say 90 minutes of that contacting Fury's team, who I know well, in Riyadh where he's training. They told me that he'd split his eye open in the morning, that it had come as an accidental horror gash. I didn't know at the time. I went through a series of texts with different people very close to Fury. And then I think I did Al Jazeera live. I did a couple of other TV stations, 3 radio stations, 5 YouTube interviews, a couple of stories for the Telegraph newspaper. I'm their correspondent. Wanting, of course, Shawn, as you rightly point out, to not just follow the trail of news going on the Twitter sphere or X sphere or on Instagram or on rambling social media. I just wanted to find out from the source what had happened. My feeling then was, of course, the Fury conspiratorialists, the Fury haters, if you like, 10-80-10 rule, 10% always hate you, 10% always love you, 80% swing in the middle on social media. You guys know how these things work. You have to take some notice of it, but don't take too much notice of it. And somewhere in the middle is the truth. I mean, I've watched your video back since you contacted me kindly to come on the show. And I think what I've done or I've learnt in 33 years in boxing is shit happens in boxing. Unusual things happen. There's a weird algorithm to boxing. You can't have a massive event with only one of the protagonists. You need both. People do fake and feign injuries sometimes. It has happened in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Weird things happen in our sport. We come to expect the unexpected. There is a narrative at the moment about, is Usyk the one forcing the fight or is Fury forcing the fight? Who needs it most for the legacy in this era? What I know is this. I believe the people that told me that he cut his eye accidentally in sparring. And what I've learned is not to overreact, if I can, to different scenarios.
Sure.
There's certain things that I feel very strongly about in our sport. I go very hard when I think people are cheating with performance-enhancing drugs because I love our fighters. I'm passionate about it. And you cannot have fairness, and I know it does go on, when people are enhanced in an inherently dangerous sport where people can be killed legally in a ring. That's a fact. Now, when I heard from Fury's people that he cut his eye, I then went ahead and wrote my stories, did my things. As I was doing that, the picture of the eye came out. What I think we saw then was a raft of conspiracy theory. And last night, Turki Al-Sheikh, Tyson Fury, Spencer Brown, his manager, on a telecast on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour on MMA Fighting, also had Egis Klimas and Oleksandr Usyk on, and he showed the stitched eye.
Yeah.
The fight will go ahead on May the 18th. There's a $10 million resort to the other person if the one doesn't turn up against the other.
Oh, wow.
That's from their purse. Anthony Joshua will step in, Turkey has said, if one of the other doesn't fight. So they found a solution very quickly.
Yeah.
Shit happens in boxing. I know your instinct is that, I think your instinct, like you said, I know what goes on in boxing. What did you think was happening then, and do you believe it now, Shawn?
Well, listen. Let's go back to the video of him sparring real quick. I've even heard a rumor that video that's being circulated is an old video.
Well, it depends whether you're a conspiracy theorist or not. Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. Fury's getting 60 million or more to fight Oleksandr Usyk.
Yeah.
If you think Oleksandr Usyk beats him and beats him handily, then you can make the case that Fury doesn't want to lose his undefeated record.
Sure.
He looks in phenomenal shape to me.
I heard that.
I think he's got a great chance against Oleksandr Usyk. It's a 2-fight deal as well. So if you lose one or draw one, you're going to have a second one anyway.
Yeah.
And I think there's small amounts of time. I think the biggest problem for him now is that eye could get reopened by Usyk on May the 18th. And I think I thought we were going to get a cagey, close, controversial draw in the first fight. Now, I think Fury, as Lennox Lewis has kind of exposed to me, what he would do against Usyk, you rush him as the much bigger man. I think we'll get a different fight from Fury now, where he'll go out there and try and bang Usyk out in 7, 8, 9 rounds.
You know what? And I don't mind speaking the X's and O's of this fight as well with you. And thank you for kind of narrating us through everything that's gone on in the UK and also in Riyadh in the last 48 to plus hours. I don't know my math beyond 48 hours. I know that's 2 days. I don't know anything else other than that. Or 48 to 72 hours. Thank you, Antt. See, that's why you're here. But I also did see and hear that he was in like really good condition as well. Like he's looking like relatively great, for the sake of words.
Yeah, I mean, he does look good. He is in good shape.
Yeah.
I know Christian Blacklock is strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be in shape? He had the wake-up call against Francis Ngannou. He never got the sharpener going into that. He believed the hype that Ngannou, I didn't, by the way. Yeah. I gave Ngannou at least 10 minutes of danger in that fight. No one's knocked him out with 4-ounce gloves. A lot of people, Shawn, there's a lot of experts in boxing. I'm not an expert. I'm just a student of it. For 33, 35 years, I love the sport. The unexpected happens in our sports, you know. So I think the big thing is, the most important thing is that this fight happens. The heavyweights are very important to the sport. It's called the Blue Ribbon Division and the richest prize in sport, the undisputed title, for good reason. It really is the richest prize in sport again, going back to 71 when Ali and Frazier fought at Madison Square Garden over the championship. Both undefeated, of course, at the time. Ali out because of the Vietnam War draft, proved right, of course, afterwards. A huge hero for me and one of the reasons why I got into boxing and loved boxing all those years ago. Born in 65 and remember him in the 70s. So the most important thing is that this fight happens. It's era-defining, era legacy for both men. And I think Fury's got his haters out there for the way he is. Usyk's beloved because of what's happening in Ukraine and the way he carries himself. We're a very divided sport. It's a sport of opinions. It's a sport of very strong views. And I think, I just hope the fight does go ahead on May the 18th.
And honestly, all due respect to Mr. Davies and Mr. Porter, let's cut the shit. They both are not afraid of each other.
Yeah.
They're world championship fighters.
Yeah.
We was going to get a great night of boxing. Shit happens. He got cut. It happens in sparring. Shit happens at the end of the day. That's boxing. I don't think Fury's scared of Usyk. I don't think Usyk's scared of Fury. I think, yeah, people going to make up excuses. Shit happens, man, at the end of the day. That's basic. That's the explanation. Shit happens.
Yeah. Gareth, two more things before we let you go. One, on Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, and I just want to touch on kind of Ben before we get you out of here. But as it pertains to Tyson Fury, by your estimation, he's not boxed out. He's not on his way. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have things in his sights that are bigger than boxing at this point. In your estimation,
I think he needs boxing. His mental health issues are well documented.
Yeah.
You know, I've covered him through the weird and wacky stages. I went out to see him when he weighed over 400 pounds in Marbella in 2017. I followed his narrative. I've been on stage with him as his compere, as his master of ceremonies, on tour with fans, half of them there for mental health. Listen, at 35, you know, his legs may have gone in that Ngannou performance. A bit like people saying about Deontay Wilder against the Joseph Parker performance in Riyadh in December.
Yeah.
We don't know until we know.
Sure.
All I know at the moment is in heavyweight boxing, or as you know, you've been in massive prize fights. When money, ego, and timing makes everything happen. Yeah, and particularly the money, because the ego and the timing get right when the money's right. These guys are all earning 3-4 times what they could ordinarily earn in Las Vegas or London, big stadiums, Madison Square Garden, because of the investment, which is amazing for our sport, for the Saudi Arabians at the moment. These guys are going to have these very big fights. In the course of 3 or 4 events in Saudi Arabia, if I can say it in these terms, heavyweight division's been shook up. We've got a new league. Ngannou is a player as well. We can debate that as much as you want. But the guy looked decent against Fury. Has his legs gone? We don't know until he gets in there against Oleksandr Usyk. This will be an even bigger fight now on May the 18th than it was on February the 17th.
Yeah.